Welcome to the Fortinus Events podcast series, where we engage in dynamic conversations with the pioneers, experts, and changemakers driving progress across industries. In each episode, we explore how cutting-edge innovations, strategic approaches, and emerging trends are reshaping the future of businesses.
Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of the second annual CX Global Summit Philippines happening this 3rd and 4th April. Today with us, we have Simon Horrocks from Talkdesk, which is a silver sponsor for the CX Global Summit Philippines 2025. Simon is the VP of Sales for the APAC region at Talkdesk, and he brings 30 years of global sales leadership, driving revenue growth, scaling teams, and expanding Talkdesk's footprint in APAC through strategic partnerships and digital transformation. Hi, Simon, welcome. Would you like to give us a bit of an introduction from your side?
Hi, Joe, and thank you so much for the very kind words. I don't think I recognize myself. It was a very nice introduction, but I'm delighted to be here. Talkdesk is delighted to be sponsoring the CX Summit, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Thank you for being here. Let's get things started. So, we'd just like to ask you, for an overview at Talkdesk for their role in CX, give us a brief introduction to Talkdesk's journey in customer experience and the value it brings to the industry.
So Talkdesk brings to market a platform which is an omni-channel, full-service contact center designed to rid the world of bad customer experience. We established the business in 2011, we were the first cloud-native contact center to be brought to market. We were the first contact center vendor to put AI in our product, which was back in 2017, 2018, before it was even a buzzword.
Yeah.
And really the value that I think we bring to the contact center space is innovation. We have just short of 2,000 people in the organization at this point, and more than 50% of our people are engaged directly 100% of their time in R&D. That's way above what you would expect in our space. We're able to do that because we're fortunate enough to have just short of $500 million in funding, which is a matter of public record. We're a Series D company. We're still privately held, but because of that funding, we're able to invest heavily in R&D, and that means that we can bring that innovation to bear to keep our platform ahead of the game and to keep our customers very happy with the service they're able to deliver to their end customers. When we look at the delivery of our platform, the feedback we get from our customers, by the way, we have the highest CSAT scores in our space, and we're permanent fixture on the Forbes Cloud 100. But the most consistent feedback we get from our customers is that we're easy to use, easy to deploy, easy to configure, and that matters hugely for people who are working in the fast-paced arena of the contact center.
I can agree. And I think that was a very, very well said. Second off, we have expectations from CX Global Summit Philippines 2025. Returning as a silver sponsor, Talkdesk, of course. What is Talkdesk looking forward to at the summit this year? And what are you hoping to gain from it? And how does it align with your current goals?
Conversations, mostly. We've invested heavily in the Philippines this year. From a standing start, in the last 12 months, we have around 50 people employed as full-time employees in the Philippines in a number of functions. And we have, in terms of our customer base, we have some of the largest banks and the largest retailers in the Philippines, our customers already. So we'd like to have more, obviously. We're really looking to talk to your attendees about the value that our platform has brought to those customers. We're not there, candidly, we're not there to sell. I think sharing ideas and getting into conversations, showing curiosity about people's businesses and their challenges leads to good conversations, great outcomes. Hopefully that helps our brand. Maybe it helps one or two people in the CX space. And who knows, maybe it leads to one or two additional partnerships in our space. But really, we're looking to have some great conversations about how a contact center platform can really affect the outcomes for people running those businesses.
We definitely hope that whatever you're looking forward to at the summit definitely takes place. And of course, new connections and networking is built from there. Next up, the impact of AI in CX. How has AI technology continued to shape CX? And what do you see as the next big trend in AI-driven customer experience?
That's a big question, a big subject. I could talk for hours on that, and I won't ruin your podcast by doing that.
No worries. Answer however you like.
I think AI is going to be hugely impactful. It already is, and it's going to continue to be hugely impactful in our space.
Yep.
If you think about the way that we all as individuals use AI, think about the way that you use ChatGPT. It's all person-to-person communication. Right? Whenever anyone uses ChatGPT, it tends to be an essay or a document or a book or a cover letter or an email or a report or some kind of an RFP response, something that's really important in terms of person-to-person communication. And the very definition of person-to-person communication at scale is the contact center in B2C environments. So for that reason alone, I think it already is hugely impactful in our space and will continue to be so. And it's going to bring a huge amount of effectiveness and efficiency gains for our customers and people working in the contact center space. I'll give you a couple of examples, if I may. One of those is language. We've seen huge advances in language capabilities just in the last 6 months, let alone the last 12 months. And I think in this part of the world, we have some interesting nuances that are almost unique to this part of the world. So we have hybrid languages like Taglish and Singlish that are challenging for the kind of translators that are written perhaps in other countries in the US primarily. So that's an interesting space. I think as well in Southeast Asia, it's not uncommon for people to start a call in English because they're very comfortable in English. But when people get stressed, which is not unusual in a conversation in a contact center, they tend to switch, or they often switch, to their mother tongue. So again, the translators not only have to understand hybrid languages, they have to understand switching languages on the same call. And I think for our contact center partners, for our contact center customers, what's perhaps interesting for them in terms of languages is, and again, coming to the Philippines specifically, there's 6,000 islands, I think, in the Philippines. Most of the people who work in the contact centers typically, and I'm not just talking about our contact center platform, I'm thinking about all those US banks and other organizations, the Australian banks that have contact centers in the Philippines. They're typically employing people relatively close to Manila or other major cities because of their English skills. And I think if we have a streaming linguistic capability which tightens up or improves the English that's being spoken, then all of a sudden that opens up the ability for these contact centers to be able to employ people in the outlying islands as well. So I think there's a whole number of reasons that languages are really important. Secondly, in terms of customer sat and some of the KPIs that contact centers really care about, including abandonment rates, we have a capability which at this point I think is unique in the contact center industry. It won't stay unique. The rest of them will catch up. But right now we have a capability which is to replace the IVR. We're able to replace that IVR that everyone hates, right? Press 1 for service, press 2 for support, and everyone's bashing the 0 to try and get through to it. A live or a human agent. We're replacing that with a conversation. So it's an automated bot, if you will, but it's conversational. So instead of asking you to press 1 for this team, press 2 for that team, it's going to say, hey, Joan. And if they're a retailer, it's going to say, hey, Joan, how are you? We dip into the CRM that the customer's using and work out who's calling and what their recent purchase history is. Hey, Joan, how are you? How are those sneakers that you bought last month? By the way, what would you like to talk about today? So we can do that immediately and conversationally. And the immediate impact of that we've seen in other customers is that it can reduce abandonment rates by up to 80%.
Wow.
Right. So that is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
There are other elements to the platform. And again, some of our competitors out there will also have some of these capabilities. We have an autopilot, which is essentially a virtual agent. So imagine if you have our capability on the front end doing the conversation to route people to the appropriate teams, but we also have a capability to route to a virtual agent, an automated agent. So at this point, the call's untouched by human hand. What tends to happen there, and of course, the top, almost any organization that you care to look at, the top 5 or 6 use cases tends to be about 80% of their volume. So if you can route about 80% of their volume to a virtual agent and answer all the very simple questions, check my balance, if you're a bank, where's my item, has it shipped, can I reorder? If you're a retailer, if you can automate those, then a number of things happen. First of all, CSAT goes up because your customers are much happier. We've seen surveys recently where, dare I say, younger customers, millennials, etc., are actually more keen to talk to a bot or a virtual agent if the virtual agent is effective and it works. It's actually their preference to not
Wow,
talk
okay.
to a human. And we've only started
Yeah.
seeing that tip the scales just recently. So it increases customer sat. It increases revenue. One interesting element that we have seen that you might not expect is it also increases average handle time. And of course, contact centers typically want to reduce average handle time. But in this case, it's a good thing because what's actually happening is all the simple calls are going to the virtual agent or autopilot. And the more complex, more interesting, more revenue generating calls are going to real agents, live agents, human agents.
Yep.
And they're getting to deal with customers with problems that can result in an uptick in customer sat and an increase in revenue. And there's also another spillover stat that we look at, which is the attrition rates in contact centers. And I think it's fair to say that attrition rates are horrendous in contact centers globally. It's not always been the world's most wonderful job to be on the phone all day listening to perhaps disgruntled customers. And what we've seen is when we're using this capability, so the routing on the front end, the autopilot for all the easy matters, so all the interesting matters are now going to live agents, we've seen the attrition rates drop as well. So there's a number of positives that come to our customers as a result of using this kind of technology. I'll go on if I have time.
Please carry on,
Did tell you I could talk
a lot of
about.
stats, and you're definitely diving in deep, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers would appreciate.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, please carry on.
By the way, if any of them want to ask any questions, please come and see us at the show. We'd love to have a conversation there live, and I'll be there every day of the show.
Okay, great.
Copilot is another capability. So with AI forging a path in the industry, I think a number of people have a copilot. I think it's a fairly popular term. But you can think of this as essentially an agent assist function. And this can perform a number of functions that are really helpful. It can spot when it can sit there listening to the call. It has intelligence. It's integrated typically with your knowledge management database, whatever that is, whether it's your own platform, whether it's SharePoint, whether it's a CRM, but it's integrated with your knowledge management database. So all of a sudden, we have access to the scripts. We know if people are on script or off script, and we can prompt the agent if they go off script. We can spot an upsell or a cross-sell capability or possibility. We can share a URL or a web link or a PDF with the agent when we hear when the agent assist function hears a question that we know there's an answer for in the knowledge management database. We can pull that and make it available to the agent. Again, what this tends to do is to reduce the average handle time, makes the agent much more efficient. It increases revenue and increases customer sat. We also believe that this kind of capability in our platform typically can reduce the number of FTEs required in the contact center by around 20%. And that's not to say that you're ever going to move anyone out of the contact center, because we've seen attrition rates up to 50% in some of our contact center customers. So what it really means is you don't have to replace everybody who leaves. So I think that's a very healthy prospect. And the final, in terms of AI, the final element that I'll talk about is a quality management function. For decades at this point, each and every contact center has had quality managers in the contact center. There's typically, it's different for each contact center. There's typically one quality manager for every 20 contact center agents. And they're sampling calls, they're listening to calls, they're making sure that people are on script, making sure that people aren't getting overwhelmed by negativity, nastiness, dare I say, from customers, and typically just making sure that things are running well. Well, we can replace that capability. We have a QM assist function. It is the function that we call it inside of our platform, but it essentially replaces that quality manager. So what that means immediately is instead of sampling a number of calls, and I think the best we've seen is 11% of calls. So no one in the industry is sampling more than 11% of calls if they're doing it by human hand. We can immediately take that to 100%. So you don't miss anything. So if you're a bank, for example, and your agents are not allowed to give out advice, we can set up a sensor to alarm the call center or the contact center manager when anyone uses the word advice. And you can do that on 100% of calls and never miss the kind of issue that can lead you into difficult difficult waters. So
Understand. Yeah.
the quality management function, I think, is very, very helpful for keeping the contact center running exactly as the owners, the management of that contact center want to see it. We can also spot things like mood changes. So it's not, we have a capability in our AI side of our platform to spot those mood changes. And, it's not enough to know that someone's upset when they leave the call. They might be upset when they leave the call, but they might have been even more upset when they joined.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it was a good call and we should mark it as such and use that as coaching for other agents. But equally, if the customer joins and they're a little bit upset and they leave the call very, very upset and shouting and swearing and all the rest of it, we need to know that too. So we have an element in our platform that can detect mood insights and tell you what that shift is in mood on the. So there's a number of elements: the language, the replacement of the IVR, the autopilot capability, the co-pilot capability, quality management function being automated. All of that comes from the AI that we've had in our platform for, at this point, around 7 years.
Wow. Very, very insightful, Simon. Thank you so much. Wow. On that note, reflections and future outlook. Looking ahead, what are key strategies at Talkdesk that you guys are focusing on for the upcoming year to continue pushing the boundaries of CX? I'm sure many viewers of ours would love to know this.
So we consider ourselves at this point, rather than a contact center company, we consider ourselves to be an AI engineering company that happens to bring a contact center platform to market. So you can guess what I'm going to say. The future, the immediate and long-term future is all about AI. And, I think people have got a little bit of fatigue from hearing about AI. It's probably the most overused word in technology, or overused technology right now. But I think the next 12 months are going to find AI really being used in anger, and especially in our space. It's really going to get traction. It's going to start delivering value for the end customers. Our end customers have been seeing that value for some time now, but I think you're going to see that increasingly in our industry. And another thing that you're going to see in the industry, I think it's fair to say that telephony is commoditized at this point. I would also suggest, dare I say it, that most contact center functionality is relatively commoditized at this point. For example, using a nice whizzy flowchart studio to set up an IVR used to be really impressive and quite exciting to our contact center customers. I think these things have become table stakes. So I think the interesting play over the next 12, 18, 24 months is going to be what AI engineering can bring to this space.
Okay.
And as we move into that space, I think you're going to see the CRM vendors. So obviously Salesforce have been very vocal about Agentforce this year. And that's great for us because that's creating a lot of noise in our space and we're going to benefit, and our customers, I think, are going to benefit from that. But you'll see the CRM vendors move into this space. You'll see the service desk vendors move into the AI automation space. You'll see some of the contact center vendors move into this space, and you'll see some core AI automation plays as well. It's not genuinely clear, and the analysts are saying at the moment, it's not genuinely clear who's going to win that battle. And by the way, we don't think many of the contact center vendors are going to make it. But I think that's going to be the battleground. The AI automation piece is going to be, and you'll hear people talking about agentic AI. By the way, when we talk again in 12 months, I'll be telling you that's the most overused term in IT. But you'll hear everyone talking about agentic AI, and we're going to be competing with the Salesforces and the ServiceNows and the Corda AIs of this world. So we're up for it. We can't wait. We've been preparing for this for 7 years. It's finally come our time, and we're all very excited for what the near-term future is going to bring.
Would you say, whether we like it or not, AI will definitely take over majority of the industries in the coming future?
I'm not sure I'd say that. There certainly will be industries that AI will replace most of the human tasks. And I suppose driving is one very obvious example.
Yeah.
And not just driving, I'm thinking about truckers and taxis, but all the auxiliary industries, the cafe stops on the highways, the mechanic shops. That industry is going to get completely automated, and it's going to be very difficult for people in that space. And by the way, in many countries, the largest job or the largest industry, I should say, for blue collar workers is the motoring industry. So I think that's going to be a problem and a challenge that people are going to have to face. In other industries, and I would include our contact center industry, I think it's going to be an augmentation function where it makes people better more effective, more efficient. And I think if you look at the contact center agents that are using our platform, I think it's going to make them more happy in their work and more selective in the conversations that they have, the more valuable conversations that they're now able to have.
Okay, understood. Thank you for your thoughts and your opinion. Last but not least, Simon, just wanted to throw in a bit of a light-hearted question. If Talkdesk was a customer service superhero, what would its superpowers be?
Ooh, if we were a customer service superhero, our power would be to make every single customer interaction 100% from a CSAT perspective.
Wow, okay. Would you like to explain a bit further?
Yeah, we're not quite at 100%. Yeah, I think our CSAT is about 94%. We would love every single customer engagement and the engagements of our customers using our platform to be 100%. It's a lofty aim, but we will never stop striving to get there.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. Simon, thank you so much for this opportunity to have a conversation with you. I'm so sure that everyone watching this truly values whatever you have mentioned. Thank you on behalf of Fortinus Events, and we look forward to having you at the summit.
Jirin, thanks so much. You're a very generous host, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Manila.
Sure. Thank you so much, Simon.
If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned to more exciting episodes featuring industry leaders from around the globe. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.